Have you ever noticed that very few deadlines are actually missed suddenly? Usually, somebody knows long before the deadline arrives. Sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's a month, sometimes it's even longer. They can see that something isn't quite lining up. A dependency has slipped. The work is taking longer than expected. Priorities have changed. They know the deadline is at risk, but they don't say anything. Not because they don't care. Usually it's the opposite. They care a great deal. They're hoping they'll catch up. They don't want to disappoint anyone. They don't want to ask for help. They don't want people to think they can't do their job. Sometimes they wait until they know for certain. Sometimes they wait for someone else to notice. Sometimes they wait until another piece of work is also running late, because sometimes it feels less uncomfortable if it isn't just them. What's interesting is that they're trying to protect their reputation. They want to be respected, but they don't realise that keeping quiet is often the very thing that starts to erode trust. Not because the work is late, because everyone else is still making decisions based on information that is no longer true. Now, here's the part I find fascinating. People often think if they wait, the conversation will get easier. In my experience, the opposite happens. Every day you wait, the conversation gets a little heavier. When you first notice the deadline is at risk, the conversation is surprisingly light. I wanted to let you know I'm concerned we might not make next Friday. I don't know for certain yet, but I thought you should know. At that point, there's still room to move. People can think. They can adjust priorities, move resources, reduce scope, delay something less important. Sometimes they even find a way to deliver on time after all. A week later, the conversation is a little heavier. The options are fewer. The pressure is higher. The day before the deadline, it's heavier again. Now people are responding under pressure instead of making considered decisions. And after the deadline, that's often the heaviest conversation of all. Not because the work changed overnight, because other people have been relying on information that wasn't true. They may already have told their own manager everything was on track. They may have committed to a stakeholder. They may have started the next piece of work. Now they aren't just managing a missed deadline. They're professionally embarrassed. That's why I think these conversations matter so much. Not because missing deadlines is unusual. It isn't. Projects change all the time. The question is whether people hear about the change while there's still room to respond. One of the things I've noticed over the years is that people are often surprised by what happens when they start raising issues earlier. They expect criticism. Instead, they often hear, "Thanks for letting me know," or "I'm glad you told me now." Why? Because you've given people something incredibly valuable. Time. Time to think, time to adjust, time to make better decisions. And something else starts to happen. People begin to trust you. Not because your work is perfect, because they know you'll tell them when reality changes. That's a reputation worth building. It's also one of the reasons I run practice clinics. Not because I expect people to miss more deadlines, because these conversations happen all the time. Unlike interviews, you don't have to manufacture the pressure. Work gives you opportunities to practice every week. The more you practice raising issues while there's still room to move, the more natural those conversations become. And here's the interesting part. That doesn't just help when a deadline is at risk. It helps when you need to ask for help, when you need to challenge an idea, when you need to raise a concern, when you need to tell a colleague their work has been affected. Even when life throws something completely unexpected at your team. Someone gets a phone call that their child is missing. A colleague loses a close family member. Those moments aren't about finding perfect words. They're about recognizing what the moment requires. The leaders I admire most aren't the ones who always have the answer. They're the ones who create enough calm for good judgment to return. Sometimes that's as simple as asking, "Tell me what we know right now." People stop imagining. They start thinking. They remember what's important. They remember to look after each other. Then they work out the next step. That's what we're practicing. Not scripts, not perfect conversations, judgment. Because when the conversation matters, it's too late to wish you'd practiced. Train like it matters. Because